Did you know that studies show parents of children with special needs are twice as likely to experience high levels of stress compared to parents of typically developing children? Around 60% report challenges balancing their professional responsibilities and caregiving roles, leading to emotional burnout, financial strain, and even marital tension. If you're a parent like me, you've likely felt this weight firsthand. I didn't always feel so overwhelmed. There was a time when I thought I had everything under control. I had a thriving career, a supportive partner, and big dreams for our family. Then my son was diagnosed with autism. I vividly remember sitting in that small clinical office, trying to process what the doctor was telling me. Words like developmental delays and lifelong challenges echoed in my mind. The weight of it all hit me like a tidal wave. I left that appointment with a heavy heart, a stack of pamphlets, and a million questions. How would this affect his future? How would this impact our family? And most urgently, how would I manage being a good parent to him while keeping my career afloat? In the beginning, I told myself I could handle it. I dove into research, therapies, and appointments, all while clinging to my demanding job. But the cracks started to show. There were countless sleepless nights spent worrying about whether I was doing enough. I would wake up early to prepare for meetings, only to be derailed by meltdowns over breakfast. By the time I got to work, I was emotionally drained, and my productivity suffered. At home, the guilt was crushing. I felt like I was failing everywhere, missing deadlines at work and missing milestones at home. My son needed me in ways I hadn't anticipated, and I often felt like I was falling short of being the parent he deserved. Every missed therapy session or rushed bedtime story added another layer of guilt. The emotional toll didn't stop there. My relationship with my partner began to strain under the pressure. We argued over the division of responsibilities, financial stress, and even small things like who forgot to pick up groceries. It felt like we were on opposing teams rather than working together. I missed the days when we laughed easily, and life felt manageable. There were moments that brought me to my knees, like the time my son had a sensory overload in the middle of a grocery store. He screamed and cried while strangers stared, some with pity, others with judgment. I remember rushing out of the store, abandoning our cart, and sobbing in the car. I couldn't help but wonder, am I even cut out for this? Then came the career repercussions. My boss, though initially understanding, grew frustrated with my absences and frequent requests for flexibility. I felt trapped, torn between two worlds that both demanded everything from me. It wasn't long before I started questioning my own worth. Was I a bad employee? A bad mother? A bad wife? Financially, we were stretched thin. Between therapy bills, medical expenses, and the cost of specialized equipment, there were months when I wasn't sure how we'd make ends meet. I found myself cutting corners wherever I could, but the stress of living paycheck to paycheck added another layer of anxiety. I also felt isolated. Friends who didn't have children with special needs couldn't fully understand my challenges. Invitations to social events dwindled as I turned them down, unable to find time or energy to attend. The loneliness was suffocating. I wish I could say I knew how to navigate all of this back then, but I didn't. There were days when I felt like I was barely surviving. I cried in the shower so my son wouldn't see my tears. I smiled through work meetings while feeling like a failure inside. And at night, when the house was finally quiet, I would sit on the edge of my bed, completely depleted, wondering if I'd ever find a way to make it all work. But as hard as it was, I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't give up. My son needed me, my family needed me, and deep down I needed to prove to myself that I could find a way through this storm. I'm here to tell you that you're not alone in this struggle. If you're feeling the same weight I carried for so long, I want you to know that transformation is possible. After watching this video, you'll have the opportunity to learn from my experiences. You'll see how I overcame the chaos, the guilt, and the overwhelm to rebuild my life in a way that brought balance, peace, and even joy back into my family. The solutions I used to find that balance didn't come overnight, and they weren't easy, but they worked. And if you're ready to take the next step, I promise you can transform your life too. Keep watching, because what comes next might just be the turning point you've been searching for. The weight of those struggles wasn't just about the sleepless nights or the relentless demands. It was the emotional toll that truly broke me. Every time my son struggled with something I couldn't fix, whether it was a social interaction, a task at school, or simply finding words to express himself, I felt like I had failed him. The world seemed so much harsher for him, and I couldn't shield him from it. I remember one evening vividly. It was supposed to be a regular family dinner, but my son had had a tough day at school. He refused to sit at the table, throwing his plate on the floor. My partner tried to calm him while I just stood there frozen. I felt my chest tighten as tears welled up in my eyes. I wasn't crying because of the mess. I was crying because I felt powerless. Powerless to help him, to make his world easier, to make everything fit into place. That night, after everyone went to bed, I sat in the kitchen with my head in my hands. The house was quiet, but my mind was screaming. I stared at the unpaid bills on the counter, the pile of unfinished work on my laptop, and a therapy report that listed areas for improvement for my son. The weight of it all felt like it was crushing me. There were moments when I envied other parents, the ones who seemed to have it all together. I'd scroll through social media and see pictures of family vacations, kids excelling at school, and smiling parents celebrating their successes. Meanwhile, I was just trying to make it through the day without breaking down. The guilt was relentless. I questioned every decision I made. Was I spending enough time with my son? Was I giving enough attention to my partner? Was my job suffering because I couldn't give it my all? And the worst question of all, was I enough? Even the little things became monumental challenges. Packing lunches that accommodated my son's sensory preferences, finding clothes he would tolerate wearing, and coordinating his therapy sessions with my work schedule felt like juggling fire. And every time I dropped a ball, it felt like the world was judging me. My health started to deteriorate. I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't sleeping, and the stress was eating away at me. I'd look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. The vibrant, confident woman I once was had been replaced by someone who felt perpetually tired, worried, and defeated. But the hardest part was the loneliness. I felt like no one understood what I was going through. Even when people offered support, it often came in the form of well-meaning but unhelpful advice. Have you tried this therapy? Maybe you just need to be more organized. It'll get easier as he gets older. These comments, though well-intentioned, made me feel more isolated. It was as if my struggles were invisible, or worse, invalidated. I tried to stay strong for my family, but there were days when the mask slipped. My son would sense my frustration, my partner would notice my distance, and I'd retreat further into myself. The cycle of guilt, stress, and exhaustion felt unbreakable. And yet, even in the darkest moments, there was a small spark of hope. I knew I wasn't alone in facing these challenges, even if it felt that way. I knew there were other parents out there just like me, struggling to balance it all, wondering if they were doing enough. I want you to know that I see you. I see your sleepless nights, your worries, and your determination to give your child the best life possible. I see the sacrifices you make, the tears you hide, and the strength you muster every single day. You don't have to carry this burden alone. There's a way to navigate these challenges, to find balance, and to reclaim the joy that feels so out of reach. After watching this video, you'll understand that transformation is possible. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share in the next section isn't just a story. It's a lifeline. It's the turning point I wish I'd had earlier, and it can be yours too. I couldn't keep going like this. The way my life was spinning out of control, the exhaustion, the guilt, the emotional strain, it was all starting to consume me. I had reached the point where something had to change or I would lose myself entirely. I knew the burnout was coming. I could feel it in every fiber of my being. It was like my body and mind were slowly shutting down from the constant strain. One day, after a particularly tough morning where I had barely made it through breakfast without breaking down, I sat on the floor of my son's bedroom and looked at his artwork on the wall. His drawings were colorful, chaotic, and full of energy. In them, I could see the spark of creativity, the potential that was inside of him despite the challenges we faced. It hit me then, if I wanted to be the parent I truly needed to be for him, I couldn't continue on this path of relentless stress. I had to take action. I had spent so much time focused on what wasn't working, what needed fixing, that I had forgotten to focus on the small victories, the progress, the positives in our life. I knew that if I kept trying to do everything on my own without any balance or support, I would only continue to burn out. Something had to give, and it had to be me making the decision to change. The first step wasn't a grand revelation, it was something simple. Asking for help. This was the hardest thing for me. I had always prided myself on being independent, capable of handling everything. But in that moment, I knew I couldn't carry the weight of it all alone. I reached out to my partner and said, "I need your help more than ever. We need to figure this out together." It was humbling and it felt like a small admission of defeat, but it was the turning point. The second step was finding a routine. I realized that we needed a structure, something that would bring consistency to our lives. I started small, having set times for therapy sessions, meal prep on Sundays, and even planning out moments of rest where I could recharge. It was nothing revolutionary, but having a structure helped me feel like I was in control again. The third thing I did was take a serious look at my work-life balance. I spoke to my employer about flexibility, asking for accommodations to better juggle my responsibilities at home. First, it felt terrifying. What if they thought I wasn't committed to my career? What if they didn't understand? But when I finally had the conversation, the response was supportive. They valued me as an employee, and they didn't want me to burn out. This step of advocating for myself in my professional life opened up more space for me to breathe and refocus. But perhaps the most important change I made was focusing on my own well-being. For so long, I had neglected myself, thinking I had no time for self-care. How could I possibly find time for anything personal when there were so many pressing needs from every direction? Yet, I realized that I couldn't give my best to my family, my son, or my work if I didn't take care of myself first. I started small, taking 5-minute walks during the day, reading a chapter of a book at night, and ensuring I had time to sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee, even if it was just for a few minutes. These moments helped me reconnect with myself and gave me the energy to tackle the bigger challenges that lay ahead. As I implemented these steps, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were still difficult days. There were meltdowns and moments where I felt I wasn't doing enough. But gradually, things started to feel more manageable. My relationship with my partner improved because we were communicating more openly, and we had a shared understanding of what we both needed to thrive. In time, I started to see the power of setting boundaries. It wasn't about saying no to everything, but rather saying yes to the things that truly mattered: time with my son, time to recharge, and time to focus on my work without feeling overwhelmed. I also learned how to celebrate the small wins. Instead of focusing on what still needed to be done, I took time to acknowledge the progress we made. My son might not have mastered a new skill every day, but every small improvement was a victory in itself. I could see his growth, his joy, and his resilience in the way he approached the world. As these changes took root, I began to feel like a weight was lifting. I was finally getting my life back, not in some perfect fairy tale way, but in a way that allowed me to be a present, engaged parent and a fulfilled individual. The truth is, balancing work and family with a special needs child isn't easy, and it doesn't get perfect overnight. But what I learned through these steps was how to create balance in the chaos. It was never about doing everything perfectly. It was about doing the best I could while taking care of myself and asking for help when I needed it. Now I want to share something that truly helped me transform my life and regain that balance I had been missing. It's a book called Balancing Work and Family for Parents of Special Needs Children. This book isn't just another collection of generic tips. It's packed with expert advice, practical strategies, and real-life insights that help me manage my responsibilities and find peace. If you're tired of feeling like you're barely keeping your head above water, this book is for you. The advice within these pages was crucial in my journey. It gave me the tools I needed to not only survive but thrive in the midst of the chaos. The transformation I experienced wouldn't have been possible without it. I urge you to grab a copy of Balancing Work and Family for Parents of Special Needs Children. It's not just a book. It's a lifeline for anyone struggling with the same challenges I faced. Don't wait for things to get worse. Let the wisdom in this book guide you toward a life of balance, peace, and joy. You can find a digital copy of it at libriffy.com, linked in the description. Take that first step toward transforming your life today. I knew that grabbing hold of my life again meant taking responsibility for the things I could control. It wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to happen in one grand swoop. But with every step I took toward organizing my day, advocating for myself, and prioritizing my well-being, I could feel the shift. It was like climbing a steep hill step by step, until finally, I reached the top and saw the horizon clear before me. I could breathe easier, my heart felt lighter, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't drowning in responsibilities. But it wasn't just about the daily tasks. It was about my mindset, too. I had to change how I viewed my role as a parent of a special needs child. There were days when I felt guilty, as though I wasn't doing enough, or that I was somehow failing both at home and at work. But I learned that these feelings were natural and, more importantly, they were not truths I needed to live by. By embracing the mindset that I could do my best without being perfect, I began to let go of the pressure. It wasn't about performing at the highest level all the time. It was about showing up, being present, and staying connected to what really mattered. I also learned the importance of leaning into my support network. I had always tried to do everything myself, but I realized that I didn't have to. From family members to friends to fellow parents going through the same struggles, I had a support system, even when it didn't always feel that way. I reached out more, opened up about my struggles, and found that I wasn't alone. There was power in the shared experiences of others who understood what I was going through. Still, even with all of these changes, there were days when I wanted to give up. Days when the fatigue felt overwhelming, or when I thought I wasn't doing enough. But what kept me going was the reminder that I had made progress, and that I could continue to move forward, even if only a little bit each day. Through it all, I learned that balance didn't mean perfection. It didn't mean doing everything right all the time. It meant finding peace in the chaos, acknowledging the difficult moments, and knowing that even in the toughest times, I was doing the best I could. I could be both a dedicated parent and a professional, as long as I accepted that I didn't have to do it all on my own. And that's where the book Balancing Work and Family for Parents of Special Needs Children came in. As I mentioned, it wasn't just another book filled with general advice. This book was a game changer for me. The insights and strategies I found inside were exactly what I needed to take that next step forward. It taught me how to prioritize, how to delegate, and most importantly, how to give myself permission to step back when I needed to recharge. Every page resonated with me because it was written by people who truly understood the challenges I was facing. It wasn't just theoretical advice. It was real, actionable information that I could apply immediately. I started implementing the strategies step by step, and before long, I noticed a significant shift in my life. The weight I had been carrying for so long started to feel lighter. I could balance work and family in a way that worked for me. I was no longer overwhelmed by the constant demands of both roles. I was able to focus more on the things that truly mattered and let go of the guilt that had held me captive for so long. This book gave me the tools I needed to transform my life. If you're reading this and you find yourself in a similar position, feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and unsure how to manage it all, Balancing Work and Family for Parents of Special Needs Children is the resource you've been searching for. It's not just a book filled with theory. It's filled with real-world advice and expert insights that help me navigate the complexities of parenting a special needs child while also maintaining a fulfilling career. If you want to transform your life the way I did, I highly encourage you to grab a copy. You can find a digital copy of Balancing Work and Family for Parents of Special Needs Children at LibriFFY.com. The link is in the description. Don't wait any longer. Take that first step toward reclaiming balance and peace in your life today. Remember, you don't have to do this alone. You deserve the support, the guidance, and the tools to create the life you want. This book will help you get there just like it helped me. Don't let another day go by feeling like you're drowning in the chaos. Take control.